Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you're with me again, surprise, your host, Simone Milasas. And you are, today we have joining me one of my very favorite people and a very regular person on my podcast, actually, David Kubes. So welcome, David.
Thank you, Simone. Hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be back again with you.
Oh, thank you. And at the moment we're recording this, and it's like, I don't know, it's Saturday 19th of April. I leave to go to Europe next Friday. So by the time I think this releases, I'll be no, maybe not. I'll be leaving for Europe in a couple of days, and I'm going to the Castle Borgoni, which is and we'll have all of this in the subscription notes. Any of the things that I talk about, the links to them. I'm going to Casa Borgoni, the castle that we co-own with a few other people. And I'm really looking forward to being there for 3 days, just to hang out with the wonderful, amazing, beautiful Diva Diaz, who's the manager there, and just to be with the castle. And then I go to Vienna. And I have not been to Vienna in a really long time. So like quite a few years. And that's where David lives. Well, that's his primary place of residence, let's call it, because I think, let's face it, all of us live to an extent from our suitcases and hotel rooms. But Vienna is so beautiful. I love Vienna and the beautiful buildings, and I love all the what do you call it? You know, when all those buildings they've gone that green tinge, like it's from the brass, is it?
Yes, it's the roofs, it's the green roofs, but the material they use it turns green. It turns green over time, and that was very popular for the emperor in the 19th century. So most of the buildings, those beautiful old buildings, have these green roofs and elements.
And is it from, what's the original material though? Is it brass?
I think it's brass, yes.
Yeah, brass.
And that turns
Brass.
green, yes.
Let's say it like an Aussie, brass. Yeah. So because I live across the road from the beach, as you know, so I get the sea air all the time, and it's continuous with everything, you know, having to get your car cleaned on a regular basis. I've probably bought more TVs than most people buy. Like everything, you know, gets affected by the salt. But I live across the road from the beach. It takes me like less than 30 seconds to actually get from my house to the beach, and in the water, maybe under a minute. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love the sound. And at the moment, the ocean is so loud. It's really big waves, and it's just crashing on the rocks. And going to sleep with that is incredible. And some of the stuff that I have, we, you know, built these fans and different things, and people going, oh, it's going to be affected, and it's going to do this green tinge thing. And I was like, that's okay. It'll look like Vienna. It's like, I like it too. I don't mind it either. I don't mind that look. I think it's just over time, it creates a different look, and it's appealing. So anyway, I have not been to Vienna in quite some time. I know we've already booked one of my favorite restaurants, Fabio's. If you ever go there, it's amazing. Beautiful Italian restaurant. So we've booked that, and I need to brush up on my German, although German is one of the languages that just seems to come to me quickly. I mean, not conversation, but I can definitely ask for things. And it used to be always my go-to language, that if I was looking for a different language, it would just pop up. And that's what would be there, because my father taught me German when I was really young, because he spoke German, Lithuanian, Russian, and English. He came from Lithuania, from Vilnius. And so he thought, well, out of all those languages, obviously I spoke English, German would be the next one that is required. So he taught German to me when I was really young, which I think is an interesting thing to do if you have a child as well, because I recall so much of it. But I did get to this stage where I looked at my dad and said, I don't want to do this anymore, you know, and he went, okay, and didn't push me. I sort of wish he'd pushed me so that I had more of that. But anyway, I have what I have, and I can get away with speaking a few different words in German. And I'm really looking forward to being in Vienna and seeing you, David. Very
Well,
much
I
so.
can, I can keep going where your dad stopped, und dann sprechen wir nur noch Deutsch.
Wir sprechen ein wenig Deutsch. Aber meine Aussprache ist sehr schlecht.
Das ist nicht wichtig.
Okay, so I'm saying I speak a little bit of German, but my grammar is really bad. And I'll tell you why my grammar is so bad is because I did learn German when I was younger, but then I also learned German when I lived in Austria, and I lived in this really small town called Soutens in the Utstal Valley. And if any of you guys know the Utsi Man was the man who was frozen like in time, basically, you know, and he was in the next village to me. So a lot of people used to travel there to see where the Utsi Man, you know, was born or found, etc. And the town that I stayed in, Soutens, 845 people at the time. I have no idea how many people has there now. 845 people, and there was 3 people in the town that spoke English. So I sort of had to learn something straight away. And actually, funny story. This is not what we're here to talk about, but why not? You know, warum nix? I remember when I got there and I went, wow, this town is really small. Okay. And I was working in the chalet, and my job was to clean and cook, right? And I have not been the best of cooks. I'm a pretty good cook now, actually, but years ago, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I feel really confident cooking, you know. And it was only cooking for a few people, but it was definitely cleaning these apartments in the chalet. It had like eight apartments, you know, and every Wednesday you'd have to go in and clean. Saturday you'd have to change it around. But he said to me, my boss at the time, he said, do you know how to drive? And I was like, yeah. He said, do you know how to drive a manual? And I didn't at the time. And there was this moment that I went, if I say no, I'm trapped in this chalet and this town forever, you know. And so I went, yeah, of course. And he went, great. He said, you can take the truck and you can go into the next town and do the supermarket shopping, right? And I was like, okay. So I literally taught myself how to drive a manual. And I mean, this is not flat roads, can I say? We're in Austria, and it's like we're in a mountainous area. So the roads are like, you're doing like a hill start. It's a hill start. Like, it's not, you know. Anyway, so I taught myself how to drive to get to the next town so that I could have some form of, for me, it was like this freedom or this escape. So my German, I actually learned German food really well and really quickly because it was my job to go buy slices of meat and, you know, buy my tomatoes or buy their grams or whatever. And so that's what I learned to do. But the interesting thing was I didn't choose what was comfortable. I chose what was uncomfortable to give myself more because I knew that I had to give myself more. And that is actually has got to do with a little bit of what we want to talk about is we were talking about this podcast being going beyond poverty. Now, most people think of poverty as money. What if poverty is so much more than just money? And, you know, if we look at that, I could have lived in this chalet and just been able to walk around the local village and be in the chalet, and that would have been my life. But I wasn't willing to have that as my reality. I was like, no, I need more than this. I need a little bit of a bigger world. I mean, my bigger world was literally going to the next town to go to the supermarket, but hey, you know, or go down to the queso stand, which I used to love going to the queso stand. That's like your takeaway joint, like a little caravan thing that's on the middle of the road, and get your queso your cheese sausage, basically.
Würstelschnaps. It's very, very popular.
It's very good.
I know the sausage is really good, yeah.
And the mustard and everything. But I was like, I am choosing more. I'm having more, even if I make myself uncomfortable, even if I am stretching my capacities, because I know I'm capable of this. I just haven't chosen it before, but I know I'm capable of it. So that's what I chose. So I'm going to ask David, is there anywhere in your life that you recall that you knew in your world you were capable of something, yet you hadn't actually ticked that off and gone, yeah, like this capacity in this lifetime in this world, but you knew you were and you chose it and you just went for it?
Yeah, and it actually also has to do with languages. I always loved languages as well, and French was my favorite language, and I wanted to do this exchange student program in Paris called Erasmus, and I wasn't accepted because it was some kind of a political, selection where you needed to have influenced parents because the government paid for everything. But I chose it anyway, and I knew I had to find a job. I have to pay for everything myself. And I still remember that I was so angry And I thought it was so unfair that I wasn't chosen because I had really good grades, and all the people that got chosen just had influential parents. But I I remember I went to the attic of the building where my parents lived, and I cried. And I said, "This is so unfair. This is so unfair. This is destroying my future." And I went, "Wait a minute. I can just do it myself," and I did. So I went to Paris. I found an apartment. I found a job as a waiter, and the paycheck was exactly the rent. So I also knew that I have to live off of the tips that I made as a waiter. My French was pretty basic, just like 5 years in high school. And I did the same thing. I just said yes to everything, just to get the job. And I was having nightmares, and I arrived at that restaurant, and I had sweat on my forehead because I was just, fuck, I don't understand, but I just somehow managed and managed and managed and just went through it and learned to apologize really quickly, when I messed up all the orders. And it was the most uncomfortable choice that I made, and
But
I
hang on, let me ask you, was it actually uncomfortable for you, or was it this challenge and this sort of thrill and this excitement of like, am I going to get away with this today?
it was that, but back then I
Mm.
didn't notice. I had all this, I couldn't sleep. I was so nervous. I was sweating. I went into, why are you doing this? Why can't you live a normal life? Why can't you be happy with what you have? And then I was literally looking for this kick. Will I get away with it? Like, if I want it all, or I'm done. That was more like the energy. This is not, that doesn't work for me. Such a small life, and being rejected somehow. And that wasn't the only thing. I mean, later on, probably I created these situations where I went into, not happening, being being somehow not chosen, or being rejected from the normal flow, as everybody else would flow through, with my law degree, with the job as a lawyer. I mean, there were so many situations that reminded me of that, but I just kept choosing the challenge.
I
That
was going to say, did it give you like his? Because I know for me, it's like, because I had no one there either, and it wasn't, showing my age, whatever. I didn't have a computer. There was no Wi-Fi. I didn't have a mobile phone. Like I couldn't ring someone and just go, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I was like, "Okay, I'm here. I know I need to choose this. I know I need to say I can drive this manual car in order to create what I saw as a different possibility and a greater possibility than just being stuck in the town for 3 months, because I was working there for 3 months. So it's like this, you have this like energy of fortitude, like you find the courage and the I guess like the tenacious ability to always choose to reach for more. Like, and I get that is so going beyond poverty. And it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Actually, can I tell you what the worst thing that can happen is for
well,
me, that situation? Not my boss's car, but I ended up, seeing this guy who was a whitewater rafting instructor in summer and a ski instructor in winter, as one does. And so I ended up having like a little an affair or whatever you want to call it with him. And I drove his car one day because the streets are so narrow and whatever. And I had a head-on collision in his car. It's like, you're going through those corners, and it was just like, I mean, there's not even anywhere to pull over. And so anyway, I had this head-on collision. So that was the worst possible thing that could happen at that moment. I mean, he was great. He forgave me, whatever. But it's like, how many of you don't choose something because you've already decided the disaster is going to be there, and you've also decided that you're not capable, and you've also decided that that you should just, as you mentioned, David, it's like, live this normal life. And what if there was something different? What if you could, ask for more? Like I actually saw this meme today, and I thought it was really cool. I sent it to you. I sent it to a few of us. What does it say? It said, "Ask for more. The universe isn't on a budget." And it's like, how many of you are not asking for more? And for you to be more, asking for more to show up, whether it's, more money, more ease, more joy, more peace, more happy. Like I spoke to a friend of mine this morning and he was grumpy and I said, you can have some of my happy. And I said, I'm so happy. I have so much peace in my world and I'm so enthused about everything, especially the last few months. It's like, okay, and yeah, I require some things to show up and some things to change. Let's ask for it. Let's ask for it. Let's ask for it. The universe is not on a budget. Ask for more. You're allowed to ask for more. Also, the universe doesn't sleep, can I say?
Yes. And also for me, it was more the energy, I at least when I want to have tried it, I just couldn't live a life without having tried it. I was so
Yeah,
willing to, if it doesn't work, I at least try it. But then I wouldn't consider myself as I have missed out or something, or I'm not capable. I said, no, I'm taking it to the extreme because I literally want to find out if it works. And if it doesn't, I would have been fine.
yeah,
But the fun part is it always did.
yeah.
It always worked out in the weirdest ways, in the most unforeseen ways.
Mm,
Not not right away. Sometimes I had to, it took a little time until what was, I don't want to say what was really meant for me showed up, but when you go, you choose something and then it it doesn't show up right away.
yeah,
I learned to be a little patient, or not go into, okay, it didn't work, not closing the doors.
yeah,
That is, I still remember when I signed the lease for the apartment in Paris. I didn't even have a job. I had no clue how to pay this money. And the guy asked me, well, are you good? And I said, sure, I'll bring you a check by the end of the month. And I left his house and I went, okay, now I'm really fucked. The next day I found the job. Um, and
So tell me, you go ahead.
yeah, and then when they said, okay, we have a fixed salary and then you can keep the tip, the salary was exactly the rental amount. So at
Yeah,
least was like, okay, at least I'm not homeless. But the next challenge was there because I had to create money to eat. So
yeah,
I was constantly kind of pushing me at this edge of, and I was so seeking relaxation. I said, why can't they pay me like 500 francs more? Then I would be relaxed. But I think that seeking of relaxation would have
yeah,
taken away that excitement, that kind of
yeah.
fire that was burning under my ass, that I
To
kept going. I
live,
kept
like to
going.
live,
Yes,
live,
exactly.
live,
Yeah,
live,
good
live.
coffee.
So, do you have any moments, David, that because you say, covered your rent, but it's like, and then the food, etc. Do you have any moments or any tricks or anything that you chose that you went, oh, hey, this is a bit dry, or this is not, happening this week, that you ended up?
All the time, all the time. But I also learned not to hide. I also
Mhm.
learned not to hide. I literally learned to say, hey, can I come next week? They didn't even, because this is so funny. That story continues because then they gave me the check. But in France back then, we were part of the European community. But I still needed to open a bank account to cash the check in. But they wouldn't even let me into the bank in Paris. They have these double doors. You go through the first sliding door, then you have to tell them what you want, and then they open the second one. And with my, the French were racist back then. With my basic French, I always said I want to open a bank account. They didn't open the second. They didn't even open the second sliding door, and I had to go out. it and I had this check, and I couldn't get the money to it. It was kind of old. It was, and I then found the bank Crédit Mutuel. I'm still a shareholder there because it's kind of this, you need to become a member and then they give you a bank account. So
Which bank is it that actually supported you, David?
Crédit Mutuel.
Okay, Credit
Crédit
Mutuel.
Mutuel. I probably should write them a letter or visit them one day.
And just say
They
thank you so
changed
much.
my
Thank you
life.
for letting me in the double doors. Yeah, it's interesting. Another question I have for you is randomly, have you ever been fired?
Oh yes, yes.
Tell me
That
about the
was one.
first time you were ever fired.
I was working at this law firm for years, and they give you 2-month vacation to take the lawyer's exam because it's a really, really difficult exam. And
Mm.
I came back with an supposed offer of becoming a junior partner. But the biggest client of the law firm was Austrian Airlines. And what I didn't know is that there was another partner in the firm who wanted that mandate. And the CEO of Austrian Airlines said, "Where is David?" And she said, "He's doing his exam. I will take over." And he said, "No, we wait for him." And they delayed the merger with the regional airline until I came back. So instead of me becoming the junior partner, getting this huge Austrian Airlines mandate, I was fired because the senior lawyer running the law firm had a secret affair with this other lawyer, and he was married and he was also a politician. And I remember that day he called me into the meeting room and he looked on the floor and said, "I'm sorry, we have to end our relationship. I'm giving that mandate to the other lawyer." I don't want to say her name. I'm very discreet, but I remember that. And I just looked at him and he was looking on the floor and said, "You know what's the most disappointing? That you can't look into my eyes." And then I went out, slammed the door, and left the office. I've never seen them. I've never seen them again. I packed my things, and that was on a Thursday night, and that weekend I was just my whole everything. I was working there for years. My whole life collapsed, and I just didn't know how to. It was just horrible. I called the lady who did tarot card reading.
Yeah.
This is how I.
Am I going to die? Am I going to be okay?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, the Monday, that was on a Thursday evening. Monday morning, I received a phone call from the CEO of the airline. I said, "I heard you were fired." I said, "Sorry." I said, "No, come, I'll hire you directly."
Nice. Oh, I love it.
So,
Okay, so let's look at this for a second, because I was actually listening to a podcast with Diary of a CEO. I love his podcast. He's amazing. Let's put a shout out to him, Stephen Bartlett. And it's a podcast that he's got recently, and we'll put it in the show notes. And it was actually on with this woman on body language, right? But it's so much more than body language. And one of the things that she was talking about is how people function. And some people have more serotonin or more dopamine, etc., and how they will react and etc. to different things. And like, for example, she was saying, she's in a car with her husband and they're almost getting a car accident, right? But they don't get in a car accident, but they almost do. And she said the way she will be jittery all day, going, "Oh my God, we were almost in a car accident," and her husband has yeah, but we weren't. And we weren't hurt, And this podcast gave me a lot of clarity, because I started looking at it and I was like, because I actually did a whole lot of blood tests and this methylation testing and everything like this a while ago. And I have a really high dopamine level. So for me, something like suicidal thoughts or thinking that everything is going to turn out awful is not a high priority of mine. Like, I always look at, yeah, but there's going to be something else. Like, whereas that really annoys people who don't have high dopamine, because they're like, "Why? You always think that everything's just going to be created. You just have to choose it." And I'm like, yeah, like one door shuts, another door opens, right? But not, and it helped me a lot to not expect that of others, and to go, "Oh, okay." Because I know some people that I work with that don't function like that. Like, they're more like, if they got fired, they would be starting to stress about all of their bills and what's happening. And I'm not saying that I found it easy, because there's been definitely moments of, I remember one time I was fired in London. And it was, again, I had no money. And the woman was like, "Do you know this program, this one, this one, this one?" And I went, "Yeah." And I went home and went, "Shit." It's like, I don't know anything about this, and went in, and I was literally trying to educate myself how to use these programs in the office. It took them like a day and a half, and they came out and she looked at me and she went, "You don't know any of these programs." And I went, "No." And she said, "Next time, just tell me you don't know them." And she said, "You can leave." And I went, "Okay." And I was like, so I lasted like a day and a half in this office. I got paid for it, but hey, but the thing is, I took that risk and I just went, "I'm sure I can educate myself. I just needed a little bit more time and probably a computer at my hands that I could, access." But I've always sort of like there is moments, so whether it's a breakup of a relationship or being fired, or I've had some things happen where my van was stolen with all my stock, with the business I had previously that I didn't have insured and everything. And there is that momentary like, fuck, like shit, like that sort of energy. But I will get over it, I'm realizing, way quicker than a lot of other people. And it is because I do have a lot of dopamine and serotonin, and it's my choice. Actually, I want to say it's my choice. It's my choice. It's my choice. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I'm one of those people who nearly gets in a car accident and thinks about it for days. What if you really made the demand of yourself that you chose something different and you went, okay, I was almost in a car accident, but I wasn't in it. What's right about this I'm not getting? What awareness did I gain with this? That is a great question from Access Consciousness. I absolutely love it. What awareness did I gain with this? Because if you look at everything, like David getting fired, what awareness did he gain? Like, because if we are not willing to let go of things, like whether it's a job, money, investments, relationship, anything, where you live, if you're not willing to let go of anything, then how can the universe deliver what you're asking for if you're asking for more? You literally start slamming the doors shut on the universe. And it's like, if you're willing to go beyond the poverty mentality, then what sense of peace, what sense of happy, what sense of joy, what sense of possibility can you have in your world where you're actually like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to receive more today than I was willing to receive yesterday, and have that as your like mantra, your own personal mantra, but make it yours. Like, you get to choose what that is for you. You don't have to be in a trauma and drama. I get it. You might choose it for momentarily because it's fun to do trauma and drama as well. Dios mio Dio. And yet, what's beyond that? Like, if you came out of that poverty mentality, whether it's with money or anything, what is beyond that? And what is it that you would like to, ask for and choose and to be? And with that, David, I want to ask you too, when I talk about this, who or what is it that you look at to give you that energy to keep moving forward, that vulnerability, that trusting that there's always going to be something different and something greater?
Well, I realized I want to live. I want to have a life. And living, when you go on a roller coaster in the amusement park, people pay to get this incredible sensation in their stomach. They love the ups and downs and the crazy stuff. But when their own life turns into a roller coaster, they complain. This is what I don't get. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah.
That is a great analogy. I love that. You pay to go on a roller coaster, your life's a roller coaster, and now you complain.
That's what I found out, because when this is just one of the situations where and this was long before I met the tools of access consciousness. I didn't know how to handle it, but I knew one thing. I want to keep living. And if I don't take action, if it's not me, nobody else will take care of me. It's me. My life derives from me.
Oh,
I get
hang
to
on,
choose.
stop for 1 second. I think that's a really key element, is when you said nobody else will take care of me, it's me. Okay. How many of you out there are and I'm not saying you need to break up a relationship or anything like that, but how many of you are looking for someone else to, as the saying goes, complete you, so that you do have someone looking after you? And that is, for me, it's one of the biggest lies we've ever been told from others and from ourselves. I remember when my father died, and it was like 12 years ago now, and I was in the shower just crying and crying. I was so upset. And we have this seat in the shower. And I remember sitting on the on the seat and just going, who's going to look after me now? And then I went, hang on a second, my dad hasn't looked after me in years. But my mentality was still, I have a father who will look after me. I'm his daughter. And it's like who do you have that you are looking at as they are always going to look after you? You can have people in your life who are a major contribution, but as David mentioned, it's you. what if you have your own back? You know, you are there to look after you.
And that is what kept me going. I was hoping that the fair government will help me getting through my education, or the first lawyer I worked for, because I was working for years. These expectations that people will keep being loyal. No, they won't, and probably because they are mean, or they didn't, even from their point of view, they didn't even notice it. But what I learned is, if it's not me, it won't be anyone else. And yes, will I receive government grant for studying abroad? Of course. But if it's a no, it doesn't mean it's over. I'm not dead. So that's what it's me. And I want to have a great life, and I want to live. And I like that roller coaster, and I want to make that roller coaster as joyful as possible. And the best thing you can have is like good copy, like what we have today.
Yep, we do, and I like that. And a shout out to my PR agent Justine Mikkel. Many years ago, something was occurring with me, and she went, "Simone, it's just good copy." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "It's just good copy. It's good copy for, like, the next book or the next whatever." And it would crack me up so much. We were in this pool in California, and I went, "Okay, it's just good copy." So we make this joke now. It's just good copy. It's good for the next book. It's good for the next story. It's good for the next article. It's good for the next class, whatever it is. Like, what if everything you're choosing is such a contribution, not only to you, but it is to others as well? Because what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are?
You're not, and life goes on. And what I do now in these situations still show up. I always wait, okay, I can't wait for that moment where I sit and have a good laugh about it. Because I know that it will come sooner or later in one way or the other. Life goes on, and we get to choose whether we suffer through it or live through it.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
I like to enjoy my life. I like to live, and I enjoy the roller coaster. Sometimes it's really turbulent. Sometimes it's really fun. It's everything's joyful. If you look at it from that way, that's where you get to choose how you look at life. And one of my favorite tools that I use from Access Consciousness, your point of view creates your reality. You get to choose. If you choose to be unhappy, to be frantic, to go into panic, well, guess what you will create. But if you go into, okay, challenge accepted, let's move on, you will move on. Things will change. That's the most powerful tool everybody has. Their own point of view, the knowing I am the source. I can change it. I can move on. Tomorrow, maybe, but maybe not. I have this, I don't want to call it golden rule, but give everything at least 2 weeks time to settle, to download, to change. Do not panic unless 2 weeks have passed. It's incredible what can change in that short amount of time.
I love that. Mine's a little bit shorter, because I always go, because you know how people get hangry when they're hungry? They get angry, right? I don't. I just get hungry, right? That's fine. But if I'm tired, it's not good. It's not good to be around me if I haven't slept a lot. Like, that's when I'm like, I can't, like, my fuse is so short. I'm like, so my golden rule is not 2 weeks. It's like, just go to sleep. Go to sleep. Wake up in the morning. Because I'm really good in the morning. I'm amazing in the morning. And at nighttime, I'm not so great. So in the morning, I'm like, yeah, I can handle anything. Go to sleep. Just go to sleep. It's going to be different tomorrow. And it is. It's always different tomorrow. And it's like, we mentioned about going beyond poverty. And I mean, poverty, when you say the word poverty, most people look at money. And it's like, yeah, okay. And how much are you creating poverty in your life by not reaching for something more, whether it's at the risk of being fired because you're saying that you can do something when you can't, or, like David and I both have stories about that. But you know what? We kept choosing, and we went, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to live, and I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to choose something greater. I'm not going to choose something that's safe. And I love the way you mentioned the roller coaster ride too, because one of my favorite things on a roller coaster, when you go up, 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 up,
Yes.
up, and then that thing at the top where it just goes and starts coming down. Yeah. Same thing on a plane though. I love, my favorite part of the plane, especially if you're on a little plane, is when it's going up. That lift off. It's just like, woof, like that lift off is amazing. And what if your life had this lift off energy every single day? And like I said, whether it comes from, with your body, your business, your money, finances, friends, everything. It's like, what energy could you be that you could choose something different today and something greater, something that you weren't willing to choose yesterday? Choose it today. Just choose it today. One thing a day. Choose something that you weren't willing to choose yesterday, whether it's talking to someone or making a phone call or investing in something that you thought you couldn't invest in, or anything. It's like, eat an oyster. If you've never eaten an oyster, eat an oyster. Do something different. Start reaching for more.
Make a choice that takes you beyond your comfort zone. And you know what they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. A choice a day, it literally keeps the poverty away. For me, poverty is thinking you can't. Because whenever you think you can't, you're having poverty mentality. So flip that. Yes, I can. How? Well, find out. Choose it and see if it works. But, not choosing it is also a choice, but that won't change anything.
No, boring.
Exactly.
Boring.
And if you want to know what we mean, go to an amusement park and go on a roller coaster. You will need to pay for it. In your life, you can have it for free.
And wait in a line. David, thank you so much for being on here today. You and I can talk forever and ever. I really look forward to seeing you in Vienna. We're actually there for a Right Riches for You facilitator training class. So there's quite a lot of prerequisites in order to go to that class. But if you want to check out Right Riches for You, we'll have all the details in the subscription note, including you can follow Right Riches for You on Instagram as well. And we will have a link to David's website and any classes that he's coming up. I know I did a shout out for you last time on this, but I'm going to do it again just because it's one of my favorite topics that you are so great at. So many is travel. David has a membership that is, it's called Travel Like David.
Yes, Travel Like David.
Travel Like David, and it's like $9.95 a month, and you get the Telegram thread, calls with David, etc., and lots of random tips on traveling. And he is my man. He is absolutely brilliant on tips with traveling. Okay, I'm good. I know a lot, but he knows way more than what I know. So I take my hat off and I invite you to join his monthly membership. And while I'm at it, I've also got a membership called the Profit Club, which is $28 a month, and you get 2 calls from me and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's in a bunch of languages as well. So we'll have that in the subscription notes, and check that out. And David, thank you for being here. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with?
I just want to say thank you. And would you be willing to be a guest on my next travel club?
Of course I would. Of course. What are we going to talk about?
Oh, well, I have a few topics, but let's keep people engaged.
Okay. All right. So then, and we'll send it out to, we'll send out when I'm going to be a guest on there too, so people can start joining as well. That'd be fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget YouTube. We're on YouTube. I think that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So don't forget to subscribe to that. And you can watch us here. You can see us. I'm the one in red. David's the one in blue.
Bye-bye,
Right, thanks,
everyone.
Bye.